So I'm coming to you from my bed, as you can tell. I'm all settled in for the night, and it's technically the night before the Queer Lit Readathon starts, because it starts at midnight tonight. But I don't stay up to midnight. No. I'm too old for that nonsense. I'm a morning person, not a night person. So since I'm in bed ready for the night anyway, I thought I would get started on my first book of the Queer Lit Readathon, which is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. This is a YA fantasy novel with a female romance, and I've been hearing really good things about it, and it's also the sort of like group read for the Queer Readathon, so I thought I would just go for that one first. I'm in the mood for it, you know how I'm feeling about fantasy at the moment, so I'm excited to start this, and I wanted to maybe do a bit of a reading vlog for the week and talk to you about what I'm reading when I'm reading it. So I thought I would just start now, since I'm starting on my queer reading. Super excited. I'm super excited to have a week as well of just like reading queer literature of different varieties, although I'm obviously not managing to catch everybody under the queer spectrum, but it'll be fun to read what I can, and I'm really excited for this book to start with. So I'll let you know how I get on with it probably tomorrow. So yeah, see you then.
So if you didn't see my actual TBR video for this readathon, then here's a quick look at the books that I am picking from for this week's reading, which are all in some way queer literature. Like I said, I haven't managed to cover like the whole broad spectrum of queer literature, but this was basically what was on my shelf when I realised that the readathon existed. So I'm currently reading Girls of Paper and Fire, as you know, and then I also have these three, which are fantasy books, a collection of poetry, and then these are more literary fiction. So I'm actually working on my PhD today, but since it's a, Sunday, I figured I'd just do it from my bed. So technically I'm reading as well as writing, because I'm reading over what I've already written, and I was looking for some citations from Aristophanes' Birds, which is an ancient Greek comedy play. I don't know if this page is particularly funny, but I was looking for this. But are you a bird or peacock? Of course I'm a bird. I don't know. So it's kind of like reading, just as well. Like all my queer books are just sitting there, but I'm not reading them right now because I actually have to do stuff. But I will be doing some reading later, as well as watching Doctor Who.
So it's Monday and I'm off to university. I'm going to be there most of the day for various different things. So I'll probably be doing most of my reading on public transport. And for that reason, I'm not taking this because I have tons of stuff to carry to university as it is in my backpack that is heavy enough, and this is a big hardback book. However, I am past halfway in this now. I am on page 201 and there's under 400 pages in it. And I feel like it's hit like a real up point, like it's going up in my esteem. I've been enjoying it the whole time, but I feel like at the beginning there was a lot of tropes that I was finding a little bit, oh, this again. Whereas I feel like those are ironing themselves out, and it's like, kind of coming into its own unique story and writing, and like much more into it, to the point where like I feel like I'm going to be like binging it tonight. I don't know if I'll finish the last 170 pages or so, but I'll definitely be making good headway and either finishing it tonight or tomorrow. Unfortunately, like I said though, just too big to trek to uni. I'm just going to take a wee poetry collection. This is the Black Unicorn poems by Audre Lorde, which I mentioned in my TBR. Apart from that, I often listen to audiobooks when I'm using public transport. However, I don't really have a queer audiobook on the go, so I might not end up listening to a queer audiobook this week, which is unfortunate, but all of my physical reading will be queer, so that's something at least. But yeah, I better go because I got stuff to do, life to lead, etc, etc, but hopefully I will enjoy these poems when I am travelling, and I'll let you know. So it's just past 7 p.m. I feel like weirdly tired today, but I am just about to make myself some dinner, and then I'm going to watch the sequel to A Christmas Prince, which I believe is called A Christmas Prince, The Royal Wedding. It's like a cheesy Christmas romance film that Netflix made. I'm super excited about it. I also watched The Princess Switch a few days ago, and guys, watch it, it's amazing. But on the reading front, I have made serious progress on that, on all of my public transport journeys today. I'm on page 78 and it's just over 100 pages, so I think I'm just going to finish this tonight. I would like to read a bit more of Girls of Paper and Fire tonight as well, but I'm probably not going to finish this today. I'm feeling too tired and I want to finish the poetry collection just so it's done. But I will finish this tomorrow for sure, and then I can start a third book. Look at me doing the readathon like a proper reader. This one I'm enjoying, like a really beautiful poetry. Some of it's going over my head a little bit, but overall enjoying. But yeah, I'm gonna go eat and lie down and watch my film. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Back here perched on the floor. It's actually Wednesday, so I didn't film anything yesterday on Tuesday because I just had a really busy uni day. I was feeling really stressed and anxious and kind of sad, which is obviously something I feel quite a lot since my dad passed away, so that's just like part of the grieving process. So I wasn't really in the mood to film, and I was also super duper busy. But I did manage to do what I wanted to do yesterday and send what I needed to send to my supervisors. So that's okay. I'm kind of waiting on feedback for that now so that I can officially submit it at the end of this week, but that means today I'm kind of waiting around and doing some other things. So I edited some videos this morning. I finished editing my podcast, which goes up this Monday. So by the time you're seeing this video, the podcast should be up already. It's a myth digest of Helen of Troy. So if you haven't listened to it already, please do go do that. It's just me telling you all about the myth of Helen of Troy from beginning to end, and there's so much more to it than you might think. So I was excited to record that one, so I'll link that down below. And I've also been doing sort of admin for Neo, which is the classics journal that I edit. So Neo is the classics journal for students, and essentially it aims to publish articles by students and early career academics, so people that have graduated in the past few years. And it is a peer reviewed journal, so we have a board of peer reviewers who are scholars from various different areas around the country, checking over these articles, and it counts towards like an official publication if you're looking to build up your portfolio in that way. And we have a deadline currently open for issue 2, which is the 14th of January, I believe. I'll leave all the information down below. But if you are studying anything related to classics, so you could be working more in history or archaeology or something like that, theology, but you have an article or something you want to write about that in some way relates to antiquity, then please do send us your articles, because I would love to read them, and it may obviously potentially get published, which is like good for you, so I will leave that information down below. But yeah, nitty gritty stuff like that. In terms of reading, I did finish this last night, and wow, my nerves. This is a book that started off good, ended great. So I think this just really built up in terms of the calibre of the writing and the storyline and the characterisation. I will talk about it more in my mid-month wrap-up, but basically as soon as it got into the queer romance, I was there. The queer romance was gorgeous. It was my favourite part of this book. I thought it was beautifully written, and I think it really came into its own around the halfway mark, and I'm really excited for the sequel, but it's going to be ages before that comes out, which is quite upsetting, but still I ended up really liking this book, so I would recommend it. And like I said, I will review it properly in my mid-month wrap-up. I also finished The Black Unicorn by Audre Lorde. This is a collection of poems by Audre Lorde, who was a black feminist lesbian poet, and I enjoyed this. Not every poem clicked with me. Some of them I didn't really follow the message of. However, overall, I really enjoyed it, and there were some poems in particular that really struck a chord with me. There was one about police violence. There was one about Asata, who I read the autobiography of this year, which was really, really cool, and some other really beautiful ones as well. I shared a couple on Instagram stories. Yeah, overall really enjoyed. And I have just been struggling with what next to read. If you might have seen that this morning when I was drinking my coffee, I read a little bit of The Seafarer's Kiss by Julia Ember, and I was enjoying it, but to be perfectly honest, after reading this, I don't think I actually want to read a fantasy novel next, because I feel like another fantasy with a queer romance between two women with like just similar themes, kind of like forbidden romance, that kind of stuff. I just don't want to read one immediately after this, because I'm still kind of reeling from this, and I feel like they would blur together too much, so I don't think I would give this book justice if I read it right now. So I'd rather read it maybe as my next book and read something else in between, which means I am toying between Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin and The Passion by Jeanette Winterson, and I have to confess I am slightly more drawn to The Passion right now, because honestly I don't know what it's about, and I love Jeanette Winterson's writing. So when I do sit down to read another book, probably this evening, it might be this I pick up, but we will see. I have been listening to an audiobook, which is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, which is not a queer book, but it's the audiobook I was listening to before this readathon started, and although I tried to start a few other audiobooks, to be honest, I haven't been in the mood, because I kind of want to finish Kindred, so I'm just accepting that my audiobook for the week is not going to be queer, but Kindred is amazing, so I'm really enjoying it. I was at about 20% when this week started, I'm now about 40%, so I think I could finish it by the end of the week. It's time travel science fiction that goes back to the slave era in the United States of America. But other than reading today, I'm going to a political meeting this evening, and I'm hoping just now to pop out, get some fresh air, get some food for my dinner, and also pick up my boyfriend's Christmas present, which I hope he likes. For reference, since this is the queer readathon video, something I don't think I've said in a video before is that I personally identify as bisexual. It's not something I'm always 100% open about, because of various different negative experiences and reactions I have had throughout my life, growing up, when I was younger, but even when I've been in my 20s, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. But you know, we're here, we're queer, we're talking about it. So that's where I am on that. If you're ever curious about things you should not say when your female friend comes out to you as bisexual, is one, automatically assume they fancy you, because trust me, they don't. Personally, vain, homophobic straight girls are not my thing. And secondly, if you are a man, don't then turn it into some sort of sexual fetish, because it isn't. And my sexuality does not exist for your sexual gratification. So those are like a few tips for the future. But I think I've sat here for long enough, not actually reading, so I better get on with the rest of the things I have to do today, and hopefully some reading later, and I will check in with you then.
So this is the gift. It is a plant. Sorry, I've already got mud on the floor. I got a pot and a plant. Let me take this out. So yes, it is a parlour palm, or technically a Camadoria elegans. And I just thought she was stunning. Like, what a beautiful plant. So I got that and a pot to pop it in. So I thought it was like pretty neat fit. And I have named her Billie Holiday. So I'll put a little note on her saying that that's what her name is. But I'm sure she'll be very happy in her new home in my boyfriend's flat. So hopefully he likes her. Okay, so I remembered I had this on my shelf and thought, yes, perfect. This is a comic book anthology of like queer love stories. But it's bugged me, to be honest. And I mean, this is a thing. I mean, it's wonderful because it's a comic book anthology. So there's so many different artists and authors in here, some of whom I am enjoying and some of whom I'm gonna love, I'm sure, but others I just don't get. I mean, like, this is like using Zeus as a metaphor for love because he transforms into all these different creatures to satisfy the different people he loves. I just don't get it, because all of these myths in which Zeus transforms into these creatures are sexual assault myths. And like, I get reinterpreting myths, like making them your own and changing them, but I'm like, literally, Zeus is the worst example or comparison to love, in my opinion, because these are all stories of sexual assault. They are not stories of love, and I just can't. Just can't. I got book post. I have 3 parcels here, so let's find out what they are. Okay, all the two-handed necessary opening has been done, so I can show you what I have been sent. The first book is from Cape Poetry, which is an imprint of Vintage, and it is Fiona Benson's Vertigo and Ghost, and I believe this is in some way inspired by Greek myth. Violence hangs over this book like an electric storm, beginning with a poem about the teenage dawning of sexuality. Vertigo and Ghost pitches quickly into a long sequence of graphic, stunning pieces about Zeus as a serial rapist for whom women are prey and sex is weaponized. Yes, I do remember this now. It sounds amazing. I'm a classicist. I actually research sexual assault in antiquity. So I find this idea very interesting, and I've not read this poet before, so I'm hoping I really like her. But it also is particularly relevant after what I talked about yesterday. So what have I got next? I think I know what this is, and I am so excited about it. It is Oh My God by Alexandra Shepherd. This doesn't actually come out until January, but I think it's going to be well worth the wait. This is a young adult book following our teenage protagonist who lives in London with her family, and her name's Helen, and she's actually the daughter of ancient gods. So she is living with her family and sort of having to hide the fact from the outside world that they're all ancient Greek gods living incognito in London. And I'm like, yes, I love this. This concept sounds amazing. So I cannot wait for this one. And then in the last parcel, I was sent this book, by Faber and Faber, and I am so excited about this. It is The Curses by Laura Eve, which is the sequel to The Graces by the same author, naturally. And this is a young adult book about a girl that attends a new school, and there are a group of people that everyone's obsessed with that they think are witches, and it's like, are they witches, are they not witches? And a lot of things happen in the first book, so I am so excited to see what is in store next for these characters.
Hi guys, so today I am here to tell you all about the books I am most excited about coming out in 2019.
Hello Lola, say hello, hello. We're about to go and see Disobedience. I keep wanting to say The Dispossessed for some reason.
That's really not what it is.
The film adaptation of
Disobedience by Naomi Alderman.
Naomi Alderman, the author of The Power. And quite aptly, it's a film about a gay relationship between two women, or a forbidden gay relationship between two women. And it's like queer. It's become queer movie-a-thon as well.
It is, and it's good. And I finished reading the book today, and I was pleasantly surprised because, I mean, obviously, religion and queerness, I'm always here for it. And if you like Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, I think you'll like this.
Ooh.
But I really didn't enjoy The Power.
Yes.
So I was concerned I wouldn't like this.
Yeah.
But this is very different. The Power had so many characters and was so fast-paced, and I was just like, it's just not my style.
It was trying to do too much. It was like too jumpy forwards in time, big time gaps, but that's more just
But this is like the slowest book. Not ever, but one of the slowest books I've ever read. And I'm here for it. And also because I'd seen the trailer first, I was just picturing Rachel McAdams and
the other Rachel.
Rachel Weisz. Which, you know, is not an unpleasant image in your head when you read them. So yeah, that was nice.
I'm excited to go and see it. And we've got Lola down here. She's not coming though, are you?
No, it's like she shook her head as well.
No. Okay, well, let's go see a film. So I am off to bed now. I had a lovely evening with Jen. I'm sure some of you will wonder what I thought of the film. There were lots of things I did like about it, but in some ways I don't think it all came together that well. Jen says it's very different from the plot of the book, which is always interesting to me, especially since I hadn't read the book in this instance. But an enjoyable watching experience, but probably nothing I'm going to watch again, so just if you fancy it. I don't think I mentioned though that I did decide to start The Passion by Jeanette Winterson, and I started it last night. I think I'm about 20 pages in or something, really loving it. Jeanette Winterson's prose do not disappoint, and I am so excited to gobble up more of this evening. Okay, I can barely fit this in frame, but I got more book post and I already know who this is from. I haven't actually looked inside, I just opened it so it was ready. But it's from Book Break, you may know as the channel that is run by Pan Macmillan, the publishing house that I used to work for, and is now run by Emma over at Drinking by My Shelf, so I'll link that down below. But I am so excited to see what's in here. But also, I mean, I get so much post, and this is why posties deserve Christmas presents / a tenner in their Christmas card. It doesn't really seem like enough, to be honest, but there we go. Random fact, my dad used to be a postman. Now let's look inside. Okay, right, it looks like there's a bag full of stuff, so I'm gonna get the bag out of the box. The bag has been retrieved, and beneath this gorgeous tissue paper, we have books! Okay, let's see. First of all, we have this, which looks amazing. This was in the Book Break Christmas gift guide, and honestly, if you know a child, this is what to get them. I'm an adult and I want it. It is a pop-out animal alphabet book, so let me find a page. So here's the first page. Here it is, an ant. Oh, I'm such a child. And then beneath the ant, there's a prettier, well, who is prettier than an ant? Subjective, but a butterfly. Oh, it's just beautiful, honestly. Look at this. Oh, okay. Next, we have this, which I was not expecting to get at all. It is, it's a retelling of Watership Down, an illustrated children's version. Honestly, I think my mum would love this. That's so nice. Although, has anybody seen the original Watership Down cartoon? Because that traumatised me as a child. I also requested this next book, which everybody and their grandmother has been talking about, so I had to get a copy, and that is Tommy Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone, which is a young adult fantasy novel. So intrigued to see what the hype is about. And then I requested a proof of this book, which is The Age of Light by Whitney Scarer. This comes out in February 2019. And yeah, it's about a woman who becomes an artist's model, I believe, and then he becomes like obsessed with her. And it's sort of like a dark spiral. So intrigued to see what that's all about. But there's also Christmas goodies. Ugh, I have got my dressing gown on because it's cold, so I put this back on over my clothes. Round about the Christmas tree, a miscellaneous of festive stories, adorable. These are the Macmillan Collector's Library. Again, gorgeous Christmas gifts, and they collect together classics. So this will have probably things like Charles Darwin and things in it. Charles Dickens. Oh, my brain is elsewhere. Nathaniel Hawthorne, Ellen Montgomery, J.M. Barrie. That is gorgeous. I can go with my other books from this collection. And then I also have, thank you so much, Book Break. Book Break and Emma's channel will both be linked down below. Emma is honestly doing the most wonderful job with Book Break, and I would highly recommend that you check it out. So thank you so much. I thought I'd just give you a little update on my reading. I didn't really vlog or read yesterday because I was working all day, and then I had a Christmas dinner with some of my friends from my undergrad, which was lovely. Had the nicest time, and now it's Saturday. I have to do my Greek homework, but other than that I'm having a chill day, and I am finishing this, which I started. I got this out of the library, and I actually saw this on the channel of one of the hosts of this queer lit readathon, so I'll link that down below. And this is Goldie Vance, which is basically like a combination of Grease meets Veronica Mars. Like, it's teenage detective in a hotel, but set in like the 1950s or 60s or something like that. I'm not sure exactly. But so far I am enjoying it. I only have one chapter left. It's 5 chapters, so I've only got one chapter left. So I'm going to finish this afternoon. I'm also watching Lauren's Vlogmas. This is Lauren in the Books Lauren. She's just chatting about her advent calendars. So I'm going to do this with a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to do my Greek homework. So don't mind me, I'm just sitting on my floor, having just washed my hair, with a face mask on my face. But I actually realised tonight is the end of the Queer Lit Readathon. Midnight tonight is when things wrap up, and it will have been an entire week since I started the Queer Lit Readathon. So I thought I would just do like a quick recap. I'm not going to finish any more books this week because I'm not far enough into the book I'm currently reading, but I will mention that. So all in all, I finished 3 books and 1 sort of short story. The first one I mentioned a few times, and that's Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ningan. I will talk about all of these books more in my mid-month wrap-up, but this is a YA fantasy novel. It deals very heavily with themes of like sexual violence and sexism and like the misogyny in society, and it's quite violent. It recalls The Hunger Games for me, although it's very different, and I believe the world building is in part inspired by the author's native Malaysia, so that was all really interesting. And the queer romance was my favourite bit about this book, which is exactly what you want for a queer lit readathon. So it had a female-female relationship, which I loved. I also read The Black Unicorn poems by Audre Lorde. These I enjoyed. I think I prefer, I think I get more of Audre Lorde's non-fiction than I do of her poetry, but I still enjoyed these. They're just not my favourite poems ever, but I don't want that to put you off because they're still gorgeous, and they deal with a mixture of more personal to more political themes. I also read the first volume of Goldie Vance, which I got from the library and I finished today. This is a comic book series. This is kind of middle grade YA, I feel like that's the kind of age range, but in saying that, I think anybody could read it. It's just a fun comic book series about a girl detective who works for a hotel who wants to be a girl detective. It's not like that's officially her job.
and she is, it doesn't specify whether she's like bi or whether she's lesbian or whatever, but she is attracted to women, and that's kind of like hinted at a budding romance in this first volume, although it doesn't necessarily come to anything. And I read a short story, like I mentioned, which was a 40-page short story published by Tor that I read on my Kindle, and that was Waiting on a Bright Moon by J.Y. Yang. It was only 40 pages, so it wasn't a lot of meat to get my like teeth stuck into, she says as a vegetarian, but I still very much enjoyed the author's writing, and reading that short story has definitely made me intrigued to read some of her other books. For this short story, it was, again, romances between two female characters. I don't know if it explores different ones in the other books, but I'm definitely going to check out more of her books now. But that was a little science fiction short story. And I started reading The Passion by Jeanette Winterson, which I am 40 pages into, and it's about 160. So like I said, I'm not going to read the next 120 pages tonight, but I am going to carry on with this one, and you'll probably see my thoughts in my reading wrap-up. This is a kind of surreal, magical realism, historical novel set during the time of Napoleon in France. And I am enjoying it. I love Jeanette Winterson's prose. So that's everything I read this week, which I feel is pretty good going. Like, I feel like I read quite a substantial amount, and it was really nice to have like an almost exclusively queer reading week, minus the audiobook I was listening to. I really enjoyed that, and did discover some really excellent works and series I'm going to continue on with. So I'm really pleased I participated in this readathon. I've had fun vlogging it. I hope you have enjoyed this reading vlog. I've never done a reading vlog before, obviously. I think you can tell. I'm also probably not going to start doing them regularly, because I find this kind of thing very time consuming, and my weeks are so irregular. This was one week in my life, a week where I had a lot of time in my flat studying, working from home, that makes vlogging easier. But sometimes I work in an office, freelance, or sometimes I'm teaching at the university, and like a lot of that stuff, like, it just, I would find it difficult to vlog around. But I think for a kind of special occasion like this, like the Queer Lit Readathon, I really enjoyed it, and I might do it for a different readathon in the future if you enjoyed watching it. But I would love to talk to you all about the books I read this week, or any other topics I brought up in this week's video. I would love to chat to you. Let me know if you participated in the readathon, and if not, what you've been reading this week. Has there been anything good? And until next time, happy reading. I'll see you all again soon. Bye guys.